Matt LaFleur made it clear he wanted some help with his quarterback 2 job. Brian Gutekunst obliged, getting former Titans 3rd-round pick Malik Willis in the building for a 7th-round pick. Is that it? Are they done making moves? And what does Malik Willis bring to the Green Bay Packers in 2024?
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts. You will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. The Green Bay Packers have apparently found their quarterback too. It's not Sean Clifford. It's not Michael Pratt. It is Malik Willis. The Packers trade a 7th-round pick to get the former 3rd-round pick, someone who, heading into that final season at Liberty in the 2022 draft, was seen as someone who could potentially be QB1 in that draft, could be, in fact, a first-round pick in that draft, did not finish his collegiate career with a bang, and so he fell to the 3rd round. But he is someone, 6'1", 219, 4.4 kind of speed, is a dynamic runner, an inconsistent passer, but someone with terrific high-end tools. Big-time throw ability. You look at the Pro Football Focus numbers back at college, he can make the wow throws. This is, in a lot of ways, a very similar idea to what Deshaun Kaiser was. Someone who you get Tom Clements in there, you get him running an offense where you add a little zone read, play action, get him on the move, some shot plays where he's not having to think too much in a one-off or a 2-game sample. Can Matt LaFleur just scheme up enough offense, get the ball out, scheme up a couple shot plays, and then on 3rd down, can you just make magic happen 2 or 3 times in a game to make this go work? Sean Clifford and Michael Pratt, I don't know how you could have had confidence in them going into this season if, for a 1 or 2 game sample, you did not have Jordan Love. Now, if you don't have Jordan Love for 6-8 weeks and then the playoffs, you're done. It's over. It doesn't matter in all likelihood. So I enlisted the help of my pal Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans, who got to see Malik Willis up close and personal, and here's what he had to say.
Packers fans, cheeseheads, you guys have made a move with the Tennessee Titans. I am Tyler Rowland, host of Locked On Titans, and the Packers have traded for Malik Willis. Looks like it'll be a 7th-round pick in 2025, and I'm sure you're all wondering, what's going on with Malik Willis? Well, Willis was a 3rd-round pick in 2022. Quite honestly, he was overdrafted. He was not ready enough to be a 3rd-round pick, but quarterbacks obviously get pushed up the board. Willis is a guy with a ton of natural talent, strong arm, good mobility as well, ton of natural talent, but he just didn't have a lot of experience playing in a pro-style system after playing at Auburn for 1 year and then Liberty during college. He struggled with the operation of the offense, making sure things are done on time, not taking false starts, not taking delay of games. And I know instantly you think false starts, that's the offensive line. But a lot of times those operational penalties can be a reflection of the quarterback and his ability to handle those. So even just the operation of a huddle and calling plays and all that was something that Malik Willis was a little bit foreign to. So it took some time. His rookie year, he was benched for Josh Dobbs when the Titans got Dobbs off the street. So that was a bad sign. And then last year, the Titans go get Will Levis, which really ends the Malik Willis project. As soon as Will Levis was healthy to play, the Titans put him in when Tannehill was injured. Now, in this 3rd year, Malik Willis has improved, because outside of the operation of the offense, the big struggle for Malik Willis is just throwing the ball. He's a guy who holds the ball, doesn't trust what he sees, and with the game going so fast, he has a tendency to be inaccurate in those situations. Now, he made big strides in this third training camp and in this preseason, looked better than I've ever seen, and some of his natural ability was more put on display. But Malik Willis is still a developmental quarterback, and I would say he's still pretty far away from being somebody who could be a starter if Jordan Love were to get hurt.
And this made me think a little bit of, by the way, thanks to time, the Tua interview where he's like, Brian Flores is telling you stink and you shouldn't be here and all that stuff. Mike Vrabel very clearly did not want anything to do with Malik Willis. And this year, an offensive coach comes in running the Shanahan tree stuff, and Malik Willis suddenly looks like a new player, suddenly looks like he's taken real strides in year 3, is a better fit in this offense, has a much better preseason, and that's not a coincidence. It's not some miracle. It's a team saying, we're gonna invest in your development. Whether you make the team or not, we're gonna invest in your development. We're running an offense that fits your skill set. Now, they're hoping that it fits Will Levis's skill set more than Malik Willis's skill set. They didn't design it. They didn't bring in Brian Callahan to run an offense for Malik Willis. But it just so happens that the offense is a better fit for his skill set. And it just so happens to be the same tree of offenses that the Packers run. He's someone who can come right in and hit the ground running. So if you couldn't get, let's say, Dorian Thompson-Robinson for a 7th round pick, or a Tyler Huntley or a Jameis Winston for a day 3 pick, you could get Malik Willis, who knows the scheme and understands this is it in your NFL career. Make it work in Green Bay or it's over. Like, I don't know if that needs to be repeated. Malik Willis, if he can't make this work, very much like Deshaun Kaiser, when it didn't work in Cleveland, he gets traded to Green Bay, it didn't work, and it's over. Like, there are similarities here with Deshaun Kaiser in terms of their abilities. Running is one of their differentiating traits. Big arm, they can make these incredible throws, high-level wow throws. But the decision-making, the processing, that's the part of the game where they're inconsistent. The footwork needs some help. Their last years in college were not as appealing as their second to last year in college, when it's like, hey, look, this could be the guy. Brian Gutekunst has a type. He liked Drew Lock. So I am interested in this. Now, do I think this is like a game-changing move? No, but I understand the perspective of saying this is a guy who has a ton of ability. A ton of ability. And if you're going to take a developmental player, you'd like to have one with a ton of ability. I mentioned this on Twitter, like Sean Clifford and Michael Pratt were the kinds of players who part of the appeal, the intrinsic appeal of bringing them in was they played a ton of college football. They're going to need to adjust to the pro game the same way any college quarterback is going to need to adjust to the speed, the defenses, the schemes. Pro-style offenses are not, by definition, not like collegiate offenses. But it's just a little seasoning and they'll be good. Malik Willis needed work, footwork, processing, understanding these progression read concepts. It just was not the kind of offense he was being asked to run because he didn't need to at Liberty. He is a developmental prospect and is by far a better prospect than Sean Clifford or Michael Pratt ever were. Has more upside than those guys. And I think this is the play here. Can you, with Tom Clements and the years left on this contract, they've got this year and next year, can you develop him into something that becomes real? And there's no question, this was done with the urgency of trying to win a Super Bowl. Understanding that like your window is right now, and then you can figure out QB3, down the line, or you keep Michael Pratt on the practice squad. We'll see how this all shakes out. But can you keep someone in your back pocket, Michael Pratt, and still have this now that gives you not only more upside, but I like having a quarterback too with this running skill set, because then you're getting a different look. Like, hey, it's all concepts that are in the offense. Zone read, you can get that quarterback run game in there, all the boot action stuff, the shot plays, that's built in, the schemed up stuff. Like, he's not going to be as good on third down in the straight drop back, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. He's not going to be as good in Jordan Love. Just not. But a lot of the things that you would want to do for a quarterback of his ability, of his polish, it's built in. And then you lean into some of the quarterback run game stuff that is already, again, in the offense. Remember that Lions game, the Packers sealed it on a zone read play where Jordan Love keeps the ball, gallops for 30 yards. Malik Willis scores a touchdown on that play. It's 50 yards or 60 yards, however, wherever that play happened, and he is hitting his head on the goalpost. That's the kind of ability he has, and I like that as a quarterback too. So it's the kind of thing that I think for the Packers makes a ton of sense. Now, what about the rest of the roster? Well, we're still trying to figure that out. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Packers. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you, because now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. I can't tell you how much it has improved my football watching experience when I'm not watching the Packers, to be able to have that 4-box on or that 2-box on and be able to customize my options. This year, I'm getting more customizability than ever before. It is terrific. The new product is so much better. And with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season game Sunday afternoon out of market. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. Cancel anytime. It's that easy. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. And thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. I want to let you know we are doing this awesome giveaway with Locked On Packers. We are giving away a Jordan Love jersey. All you have to do is go and like the post on Instagram, our Locked On Packers Instagram, where we are doing the giveaway. Follow Locked On Packers on Instagram. Tag a friend in the post who might want a Jordan Love jersey, might want to enter the contest themselves. And that's it. That's all you got to do. We got some key intel over the evening. Over the evening? Is that a way people talk? I don't think so. But we did get the information. And it sounds like Sean Clifford is going to get waived. That seemed, I guess, relatively obvious once the Malik Willis news happened. It seems like they're going to try and sneak Michael Pratt onto the practice squad. I don't think that will be all that difficult. But honestly, in making this Malik Willis move, they've signaled we kind of don't care. Like, this is the developmental piece now. This is the guy that they're going to try and make something who hopefully they can turn into a nice backup quarterback. Rob Bukowski from ESPN reporting 2 critical things. The first is something that I wanted to bring up, and I guess we touched on it in the 53-man roster projections that Jason and I did yesterday in our little skit that we put on there. I so appreciate everyone who reached out and said that this is their favorite show of the year, that they love the bit that Jason and I do. We appreciate your support. It's a really fun thing to do. I said at the end, we didn't run long. Like, it's probably the shortest show we've ever done. And I think it was like 39 minutes. And a normal Locked On Packers is like between 27 and 30 minutes. So that was short for us. We regularly go like 40 plus. But we didn't know what would happen with IR. Would one of these running backs, I wrote about this for the Leap, would one of these running backs hit IR, and that gives you that extra space. Now, remember, the new IR rules are that you can now go on IR to start the season without making the initial 53-man roster, but you do have to sit for a month. And what seemed like a no-brainer if you're the Packers is, okay, Marshawn Lloyd has not had any practice time. He needs that practice time. Well, the hamstring must be a problem. It must be bad because the reporting is he's going to start the season on IR. Now, it also could just be the case that they feel good enough about Emmanuel Wilson, A.J. Dillon, and Josh Jacobs that Marshawn Lloyd is really behind. Like, people freaked out. Like, that clip went Packers media fan base viral of me saying it's bad that the rookies are hurt, which does not seem like a novel piece of analysis. Like, that's not a hot take. Hot take, rookies who miss time are behind. Duh. But people freaked out about it. Like, why would you say this? They don't want to be hurt, which of course I said that. Of course they don't want to be hurt. Like, it's not their fault. Their bodies are betraying them. It has nothing to do with, it's not like they just stink. They're hurt. I get that. It is problematic that he missed all this time and that you have a veteran that they're paying a lot of money to, Josh Jacobs. He's going to be the bell cow back. A known quantity veteran in A.J. Dillon that they brought back, clearly has a role in this team. And then Emmanuel Wilson, who has been a preseason star now 2 years in a row, someone who looks like a real NFL running back that they have faith in, that they think has improved, that Matt LaFleur said has done everything they asked of him. So if you're not ready to produce right away, okay, and it doesn't actually benefit you, not that it doesn't benefit you that much to practice the first 4 weeks, but that it's not like he could suddenly hit the ground running in week 5, which I think this is a tacit admission from the team that even if Marshawn Lloyd got the first couple weeks of practice, he wouldn't be ready right away. That this is a sit and maybe a somewhat A.J. Dillon-like, who was also hurt, lost rookie season. Not fully lost, but someone who's not really going to be able to contribute until later in the year. Now, I said the other day that if there is a position where I think they can just sort of drop you in with these packaged plays, early downs where you're not really giving away run or pass. Like if you're in there on third down, you better be able to pass protect. And if they can't trust you to do that, you can't be out there. But on first down, when it's run or pass, you can use the benefit of play action in those moments to slow down the pass rush a little bit. So you're just kind of less worried about it. I understand just saying, hey, 8-10 plays, he can be out there. But with those three guys, like I said, you have to feel good enough, and they must feel good enough about the stinger that A.J. Dillon has that they go into week 1 with enough on their plate. Now, they will almost certainly carry a running back on the practice squad. I'll be interested to see who that is. We will find out here today because the Packers have until basically close of business in a normal job to get that figured out. And so we'll see. And the practice squad numbers and all that stuff will roll in, and we'll talk about this on tomorrow's show when we finally get a chance to see this total roster. By the way, Mike Sando is going to be on the show to talk about the Jordan Love QB tiers. Ty Dunn is going to be on the show later in the week to talk about Jordan Love. So a lot of fun stuff coming this week. But so I don't think the Packers are going to need to go out and get, like, Samaje Perine is someone who could have been a Packer if they felt like Dillon was going to be hurt and Lloyd was just not going to be ready. Doesn't seem like Lloyd's going to be ready. And Dillon is hurt. But I don't think they would have the appetite for that. I don't think that makes sense. I think you have the guys on your roster. You need them to get healthy. And that's it. Now, the other place that we got this reporting from Rob Bukowski is that the swing tackle, there is a feeling in Green Bay anyway, that the swing tackle might not be on the roster. Or that the feeling from some in the building is that it's not. Now, is that because Andre Dillard looks like he's a left tackle only? Or is that because they need to find someone else? Domofsky's final roster prediction had Travis Glover on when we did our roster predictions. That was the name that Jason mentioned. He thought because he was a draft pick, could sneak on. Now that was, I think if we'd known this reporting ahead of time that Marshawn Lloyd was probably going to be on IR, I think of all the places we would have added when we were doing our exercise, offensive line is one of the spots where you probably would just, because you have the benefit of the extra spot, you would do that plus Travis Glover as a draft pick. But there also just aren't that many options out there. Like Larry Borum in Chicago is someone who, could have been a cut trade kind of candidate, but he left the last preseason game hurt. They'd have to get an injury settlement if they're going to cut him. That gets complicated. Max Mitchell in New York, they signed Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses and then drafted another tackle last year. So could he be the odd man out? Could he be someone that they are interested in trading? Would they even want to trade with Green Bay, or would they just cut him? Generally, useful swing tackles are not just available. They don't cut those guys. Now, could a veteran tackle be a sort of surprise, the Josh Sitton, TJ Lang Packers cut? Could he end up being someone that the Packers look into? Sure. And, the name has been thrown out there. I think it's pretty unlikely, but the name has been thrown out there by fans, not by like sourced people, of a familiar face, David Bakhtiari. That seems pretty unlikely to me. Does it seem crazy? I don't know that it seems crazy. If he wants to win a Super Bowl, I think Packer fans, by and large, would welcome him back with open arms. He gets to play on grass at least 8 games a year, plus the Chicago game. The other 2 games are turf, but at least it's a home stadium where it's a grass surface, which seems to be important to him. I think in all likelihood that bridge has been burned. But stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. Something to think about here. What else are we keeping our eye on as we head toward cutdown day? That's next on Locked On Packers. Thanks for making Locked On Packers your first listen. Now go listen to Locked On Fantasy Football. Get daily insights to the best fantasy draft strategies so you can win your league this season. You can find the link to Locked On Fantasy Football in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. One of the things that I was thinking about, and I wrote about this for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to, is the positions where the Packers are going to decide these final 53-man cuts. And there's 2 of these places where I want to hit before we finish here. Linebacker, tight end. And I mentioned running back in the piece, and I mentioned the IR piece, so I feel good about that prediction. But I also mentioned in the piece that I thought that there was a pretty good chance that the quarterback was not on this roster, and if that's the case, that both Sean Clifford and Michael Pratt could be cut. Okay, instead, they're trading for Malik Willis. He's going to be QB2. They're going to waive both those guys. They're going to try and sign Michael Pratt, which doesn't end up being that different, materially for Pratt at least, than how this was going to play out. But that other scenario that I mentioned, pretty close to what is going to actually happen here. Where are the other pivot points? So linebacker, tight end, to me, is a big one. Is Christian Welch going to make his way on this team? And if he does, is it going to be at the expense of someone of a similar body type for special teams reasons? Is it going to be for a Ben Sims, where you're going to keep Musgrave, Kraft, and it seems like Tyler Davis is part of the core? You know how I feel about Tyler Davis if you've listened to more than like 3 episodes of this show. Inevitably, I bring up that I don't understand why Tyler Davis is a Packers favorite among the organization, but he is. So is it going to be Ben Sims? Is it going to be Joe Wilson? I think I would rather have Christian Welch. But 3 tight ends, when one is coming off a serious injury, the other had a serious injury last year during the season, and then the other one had a serious injury in the offseason, that seems problematic. Wouldn't you want to have the extra bodies there? But at the same time, Tyron Hopper probably not ready to play meaningful reps for you this year. Adrian Cooper probably not ready to, at least not ready right now, not healthy, not fully ready, full bore go yet. Eric Wilson, we don't know. It'd be nice to have some more depth at linebacker, but do you need to keep 6 I don't know. But that's where I think the final roster spots are going to come down here. The tackle spot, another place. But then I'm also wondering about kicker. Now, you have to roster a kicker. But does the Malik Willis move affect the odds, in your mind at least, that things would change with the way that they approach this? Like I suggested, is there a possibility they could go 0 quarterback, 0 kicker, basically? Not 0, but like 1 Jordan Love at quarterback and then no kicker. Get everyone on your 53 and then release someone to sign a kicker when you find a kicker, or to trade for a kicker, or whatever. Probably in this case, sign a kicker. Does the trade at quarterback affect it the way that you think about that? To me, it doesn't. I think they're going to scour the NFL. Matt LaFleur was pretty straightforward about saying we don't think these guys are it. Like, he didn't say that, but he came as close to saying that as coaches can. Like, he was asked and basically said, that's not even a question for me. As if to say, Goody, you figure that out. And that was specific to the kicker. They do not have faith in these guys. Now, there's not a lot of options out there. So could they do your final cuts, keep 53, and because you can't just put a bunch of guys on IR, could you be saving someone that then goes on IR once they make the final 53 so that you can bring them back at some point during the season? I don't think that's out of the question at all, given some of the guys that are dealing with injuries right now for the Packers. It's gonna depend on who they could get. Matt LaFleur clearly does not love his options with Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph, and it's hard to blame him for that. I think Greg Joseph is a clear upgrade. I've made that clear on this show and on Twitter. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other potential upgrades over him out there. I don't know that there are clear upgrades unless they're going to, pull Robbie Gould out of retirement. It is funny. Grant Bills from Bill Michaels' show, the producer over there, a buddy of mine, he mentioned that it's funny that the Packers have had a harder time replacing Mason Crosby than Aaron Rodgers. And he's right. And it is hilarious. And that is a very salient, very funny thought. And I don't know what the Packers are going to do here. I really don't. I think their willingness to make this move, ahead of final cuts, signals to me their willingness to say, let's figure this out now. Like the draft and develop stuff, that was cute last year, but like, here's this next stage in the evolution of this organization, of this roster building process, of this version of the contending Packers. I think that they will do the same thing with kicker. Now, do they ultimately reach the same conclusion? We'll see. It will, if they find someone that they think that will make their team better, I do think they will explore that opportunity. What is the cost if you're going to trade for someone? And then, can you sign someone? There's going to be competition if it's just a sign in the open market. But I have to believe that the Packers are going to have one of the more appealing kicking situations because you get to kick for something. Now, you're not kicking in the best weather. I don't know how much that matters to kickers. You're not going to be kicking, on the super clean surfaces. It's going to be grass most of the time. So how does that impact a decision? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. So that affects their options. Your decisions are only as good as your options. So we can't say if the Packers roll into the season with either Anders Carlson or Greg Joseph that they've made a bad decision. We need to know what the decision was based on their options. Now, I am ready to say, if they go into the season with Anders Carlson, I'm just kind of out. Like, it's not it. He put him on the practice squad. It's fine. And if someone claims him, so sad. Why would you have any faith in him? Greg Joseph is an upgrade. I've said that from the day they signed him. I'm like, this is your guy. This is the competition. Unless Anders, comes back and looks like his brother, you have your upgrade. Okay. He doesn't look like his brother. So you have your upgrade. I think it's that simple. We'll be back tomorrow when we're going to talk to Mike Sando. We will, if there's any surprise stuff with the roster, we'll hit it at the top, and then we'll be able to go in depth with it on Thursday, and then Friday, Ty Dunn on the show as we get you ready. A week out from the week 1 kickoff this Friday already. Less than 2 weeks from today, we will be kicking off the 2024 Green Bay Packers season. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find Locked On Packers. And go enter that social media contest. Go follow us on Instagram, comment on the post, like it, and you could win a Jordan Love jersey. A lot of people have already done it, so you can go do it too. So you can stay Locked On Packers.